I'm interviewing Josh Katanik, finalist for the 2024 Outdoorsman of the Year. For some of you guys that paid attention to this last year, you're going to recognize Josh. Josh had a stellar year in 2023, which put him as the winner of the Sweet September League, a finalist in the Outdoorsman of the Year, followed up by a win in the Apex Predator League after a season where you, I think, got a wolf, mountain lion, bear, coyote. I mean, it was.
Helped a buddy get a mountain lion. Unfortunately, I'd love to get a mountain lion, but yeah.
You're right. It wasn't your harvest on that, but you were the one that brought him into it. Man, you had another phenomenal year. When I look at the daily challenges, I mean, you were really balanced on this. 151 on your invest, 150 on your train, and 143 on your shoot. And again, just so everybody knows, you can only check that box once a day. It doesn't matter if you did a 2 a day on your workout or something like that. You wake up, you can check it. The next day, that box is clean for you to check again. So let me ask you this, Josh, and we'll get started here. The invest thing, though, is always a little bit more ambiguous. So when you were checking that box, what did the invest box mean to you this year?
The invest box means basically any type of e-scouting or discussion with other hunters and or discussion with new hunters. I find myself in a lot of conversations with people who are very interested in getting into hunting or into conservation. And I mainly like to use that invest box for educating those people, providing them with resources. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I don't have enough time to give to the people who want to come hunting with me. I would love to.
Yep.
But as we all know, we only have a certain amount of days in the field. Um, but a lot of that investment is e-scouting or reaching out to friends, investing time in my gear, investing time in my calling, investing time in my equipment, just cleaning of rifles and cleaning of bows and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of use that invest box as just an overall education to others, but also investment in myself and my community and whatnot. So honestly, there's a lot of times that I forgot to check a lot of those boxes because I just
Absolutely.
didn't get to my phone that day for the HuntLeague app, unfortunately. But I'm sure that's the case for so many of us as well. So
You work as a firefighter, correct?
volunteer as a firefighter. I actually have a normal construction job where I work, 40 to, I don't think I quite made it to 60 hours last year on any given week, but I think I definitely saw some 50 pluses. But then throughout the week, I'm volunteering for my local fire department, Hauser Lake. And so that plays a big role in my life. And I got time commitments, as far as classes in the evenings, Tuesdays and Thursdays, to rig checks and our monthly, meetings for the fire department, to going on calls, and then weekend trainings and everything else involved with that.
And
So,
and now let's talk about your personal life. You're married, which it's important to
yep,
know that if you're working 40, 60 hours plus volunteering doing firefighting duties,
yep,
your wife does want to see you. And not only are you married, but you brought a new human being into the world this
yep.
past year. That slowed down some of your activity count from 2023 to 2024. When we looked at the activity count, you had the fewest of the three finalists. You logged 26 days in the field, 23 of those hunts, 3 of those scouts. And you and I both know you probably did a few more of those that weren't really
Oh yeah,
logged. Um,
yep, yep.
but like even at 26, if you really look back at a year, that's almost 1 month that you spent in the field. It's like almost 1 in 12 days. Talk to me about just give me an overview of some of the types of hunts that you did in your 2024 calendar year.
Spring bear, that was a 6-day adventure. We had moose, which there was a lot of pre-scouting that was done for moose in July and August. And then the season started in September. And I kind of split that time up between chasing elk for a few days when we get tired of trying to find or chase moose. And that was a September 14th through the 23rd hunt. I was able to harvest on the 22nd my moose. That was a once in a lifetime moose for Idaho. That was really awesome. And then begging my wife to let me get my first muzzle loader because that opened up another season for me for deer. Being able to harvest the deer, that was a wild ride. A couple, sneaking away for pheasants, weekend hunts for pheasants. Just taking advantage of any and every opportunity I could to get ahead in work or get ahead on the fire department or those honeydews. I can't tell you how many honeydews I just like. It was on the list and it was off the list because I knew as soon as it was off the list, I had no other excuse not to be able to sneak away other than just providing my family with love and affection.
I love that, you're not neglecting your family for the sake of hunting. I mean, a big part of this outdoorsman of the year, what we're doing is, we want this well-rounded like picture. We want multiple species, multiple methods of take. You added muzzleloader to your repertoire this year. You got the shotgun in hand when you're pheasant hunting. So you're covering a lot of bases from even your small game and bird stuff to as big as you can get in North America with the moose. So one of the things that made Brandon's season really cool was, I mean, he waited 19 years to draw this pronghorn hunt. That's what's kind of differentiated and set his season apart. Your moose tag, obviously. I mean, Brandon kind of said in his thing, man, if I could trade seasons with anybody, it would have been Josh. And a big part of that reason had to do with that moose tag. So what did it take for you to draw? Was it just pure luck? Was it a lot of preference points? I mean, what did it take for you to draw that moose tag this year?
Yeah, figuring out the draw application process for Idaho and then a lot of prayers to the big man upstairs. I don't know, man. I mean, you can't get it unless you get lucky or unless you try to, But Idaho has a very special system that gives us really high odds of drawing, in my opinion. I guess I ran into quite a few people on my moose hunt that told me they've been applying for, you know, 10, 20, 30 years and still haven't drawn and were so envious of me. And I really hope that that's not the case, that it hasn't been taking them that long. I think maybe what happens is people don't apply every year for it, and then it ends up turning out to something like that. So the way that Idaho works is if you want to apply for one of those once in a lifetime tags, say moose, sheep, or goat, you can't apply for elk or deer. You have to pick one of those tags and you can only apply for that. And I did it 3 years in a row. So, and the units that I picked had a 4% draw odd. So not great, but not terrible if you say, for instance, like Washington State. And see, that's the other thing about Idaho that I love is we don't inflate the system with a bunch of bonus points. You can't have bonus points. Everybody's on an even playing field. Everybody has the same chances every time you apply.
Yeah.
And I could definitely see some Idaho resident hunters being a little disappointed by that system if they apply for a long time and don't get drawn. Me coming from out of state, moving here, and then drawing it in 3 years, I could see how that they could think that way. But at the same time, if they take, for example, my home state, Washington State, I know plenty of people with 20 plus max points for all of those animals and have never drawn it.
My problem is I'm not like you, Josh, where my odds, I don't draw. Like, even if it's like, hey, 9 out of 10 people are going to draw this with no points, like, all right, I'm applying for it. I can bank on it. It's 90%. And then, like, all my buddies draw it. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, sorry, I'll guide you this year. All right, community posts. You and Brandon were really close on that as far as like point total, and it's not just like how many times you posted. There's multiple aspects of like community involvement, whether it's participation in leagues, commenting, giving fist bumps, postings, sharing summaries, sharing hunt logs. All those things get calculated in the system. You were 14, Brandon was 13, and Rich was sixth on that list of like community points. Each of you guys logged into the app and were checking on things over 300 days last year. And for you guys, not any of you to even finish in the top five, that shows that there's some other guys that, I mean, it's like, I don't even know what those guys do. Probably Wally King, who's just posting every meal he's eaten. It's some form
Right.
of wild food. Overall point total, I kind of mentioned you had come in seventh, whereas Brandon was one, Rich was two. I think what differentiated your season and what the judges kind of looked at was this was a special year. Like, A, you had a baby this year, which makes getting out to the field more of a challenge. B, you drew a once in a lifetime tag. And when something like that happens, it just elevates it to like, this was a special year. I mean, you had a great year last year, but you had a great year this year for different reasons. So hit me with some of the highlights from 2024. What are some of your favorite moments and things that made this year stick out?
Well, surviving spring bear, when I say surviving, I mean just being able to pray my way and focus my way into a successful hunt, something that was not looking so great, not looking so hot. I mean, we were in bear country. We were seeing lots of sign. We even saw some bears that just didn't make sense for us to go after in their locations. But I had some vehicle trouble and somehow came out of that vehicle trouble and was able to hike up the mountain that afternoon and get just completely obliterated by a winter storm that rolled through pretty quickly. There was a lot of prayer during that time, and the skies cleared, and I hiked another couple hundred yards, and there was this bear that decided to feed out 420 yards from me. Like that was just an amazing experience. I'd love to tell the whole story at some point. To having our child in on June 25th, and then July, August, doing some scouting with my parents side by side, with her in the back seat in her car seat just barely fit in the back seat with her facing backwards, but we were able to wedge it in there. And then we had little earmuffs on her, and she's just bobbing around, sleeping the whole time. Fortunately, it doesn't seem like she's gotten any CTE from that. To yeah, just flying my brother-in-law down from Alaska, having him take the time off to come with me for an entire moose hunt. I had originally set aside 2 full weeks for moose, 1 full week in September, one in October, and then another week in November if I needed it. But just having such a great time with Andrew along with me on that hunt. My buddy Lance came along with me on that hunt for a couple days. I had my family back at camp with the baby, the wife, my father-in-law. Like,
Were they at camp when you got your moose?
no, unfortunately, my wife had just finished her time off from work, and had to go back to work. But Shauna had made all of my lunches for that week. She had prepackaged them in Ziploc bags, and they all had like little cute sayings on them. And my lunch that day said, "Today's the day." So it just kind of all fit together. It was our last day to hunt, where we needed to start packing up camp and driving home the following day. And yeah, we just got into a great position where uh, we knew there was a bull. We were in his bedroom. We got out to an area that we wanted to glass that night, which happened to be us just with our butts parked on a old logging road that was kind of overgrown, looking over at a drainage that had a clearing up high, and it was getting close to dark. I think we still had about 2 hours of shooting light left, and I told Andrew to. He actually knows how to moose call pretty well. I told him to start
Can you give
calling,
me an
and
example of a moose call? Me and Tucker Schmidt from Vortex, we actually called a pretty decent bull in. Just
yeah,
it was pretty
the
awesome.
cow call. I'm pretty terrible at the cow call. Um, I mean, the bulls, that one's easy, and we played with so many bulls, but that like, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, man. But I told Andrew, like, I want you to start calling, and I want you to make it sexy. And and sure enough, dude, he started calling, and you give it that 2-3 minutes, and then you're like, oh, I think I heard it. Did you hear that? And then sure enough, 630 something yards away on that clear cut, this bull starts to come out of the timber and just walk across it. He's just getting fired up. I'm laying down to take a shot, and we're arranging it. And Andrew's like, can you make that shot? And I was like, oh yeah, no, I got this. I got this. But he's gonna he's starting to come downhill. He's committing. He's gonna come right here. And
Yeah.
sure enough, that bull came right down, went right up into his bedroom. He came around us, got into his bedroom, and just like sat down there and waited for me to come down there to him.
So I think the only reason why I would potentially pull the trigger, as long as it's closer to my road or a vehicle or something with that moose, because they are so dang big. How far away? How long was that pack out? How close were you to a road? What was that like?
So, like I said, we were glassing from an old logging road, and we were in a side by side. So the side by side was about 60 yards from where I shot from, and he ran up out of his bedroom and died back up on that road.
That's not right. That's not even right at all. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, the
does that
stars
win you
aligned.
the Outdoorsman of the Year there? Like who prays that hard that a moose dies on the road for him? I don't even understand that. That's one of my biggest fears about moose hunting because where I've been in some of those, like I'm like miles back and I'm like, oh my gosh, what would I do? Like, I mean, honest to God, like what would I do if I shot a moose? Ideally, I would love to do it with a bow. I've been able to get inside a bow range accidentally a million times with moose out here. And but man, I'm 7 miles deep on some of those, and I'm like, what would I do?
My bow was like 60 yards from me in the side by side. I was expecting a rifle shot, but he just decided to commit. I shot him at like 12 yards. He ran another 35 yards and I shot him again. He laid down. I was walking up to him and he like sat back up and I just decided to put another one in him
Yeah,
just in case, just to end the suffering. And when we skinned him out, all 3 rounds, I mean, granted, a moose, big animal, all black, it was getting fairly close to dusk, so things were starting to get darker, but all 3 shots were like within 2 inches of each other, and it was just like, okay, I've got a good point of impact in my mind when I pull that rifle up even at that distance. But that, Andrew being able to call it in, him coming down to help out, Shauna giving me the lunch that said today's the day, like all those things were running through my mind in that moment. Is this going to be my once in a lifetime moose? And all of those things right there are what told me yes.
that was kind of like a moment with in the Sweet September League this year. These two guys that came out and archery hunted from Mississippi, they had talked on the way. It was like it's going to happen on this day, September 25th or something, and it was like sure enough, it happened that day. It was pretty special. So it was the moose the highlight. If you had to just say, man, this was the moment. Like I wouldn't trade any other moment of my season for this. What would that be?
It would have to be the spring bear hunt where I thought I was going to have to come down off the mountain. And I mean, Jared, I'm not kidding you. Like, my truck broke down. I went home, got my van. My van got stuck. I ran back was running back miles down a logging road to catch up with some loggers before they left. Meanwhile, this guy drives up the road, stops for me. I explain my situation. He picks me up, takes me back to my van, tows my van out. My van's already at the trailhead, but it's just a really low clearance van. And I had backed it off onto a berm that like a normal truck would be able to handle no problem. But he tows me out of there. He goes, "Well, now what are you going to do?" And I was like, "Well, I'm going to go up the mountain." And meanwhile, it's like sunny. It's like sunny and 50 something degrees down where my van's parked. I start climbing that mountain. There's still snow everywhere. I'm like post holing through snow to get up to the ridge, to look down into the south facing side where I hope the bear is going to be.
Something's going to be out feeding.
I dropped a pin there 10 days prior. I dropped a pin like 30 to 40 yards from where I actually hung the meat of where I thought a bear should be.
So, like an e-scouting pin, or because you had
Yes,
seen, like you had been to
an
that ridge and
e-scouting pin.
glassed an e-scouting pin. And here we are, 40 yards away from your e-scouting pin. There
And
it
I'm
was.
hanging the meat there. But yeah, I'm getting up to that ridge. I get service up at the top of the ridge, and my buddy Kyle's like, "Hey, just a heads up. I know you don't have service. Hopefully, you get this. There's a storm heading your way." As I get that, I look south and I see this thing. I see all of the mountains in front of me just starting to get dusted with snow. Visibility's ending, fog, like all of that is going away. Um, I just start praying to God. When I got up to the ridge, there was nothing to really hide behind while it was coming in on me, but I saw some trees down below that I can make it to. And so I'm just wearing like a thin jersey shirt, long sleeve, like a hoodie, like a really thin, lightweight, shirt that you'd wear for hiking if you plan to sweat a bunch so that it would dry quick. And all I had in my pack was a rain jacket and a vest. And it just started just downpouring on me. It switched from snow to rain. The gusts were like 30 plus.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
made it to that tree. and it's all hitting me, and I'm like taking my shirt off. I'm changing into my vest and my rain jacket, no shirt underneath the vest, just bare arms. And I'm like, well, Lord, I guess this is it, huh? I guess I'm heading back down the mountain and I wasn't
Oh,
supposed to hunt today. And right about as I'm saying that, the skies open up. The sunshine comes out. I can feel the heat. I'm like, no way. And I just said to myself, like out loud, while underneath that tree, like, I guess I was supposed to hunt today.
I guess it is
And
the
then,
day.
yeah, and I went, not even kidding you, like another 200-300 yards, uh, like side hilling along this ridge, looking down into where I had put that e-scouted pin, and there is a gorgeous black bear just feeding right there. She came out right as the sun came out, and I can't beat that, man. Like,
Makes for a good story, bro. I mean,
oh,
that's hard to beat. That's special.
yeah, it was very special, and obviously, like lots of special moments this season. I got to do a deer hunt with some family, my wife, my sister-in-law, my cousins. Like we got to do a big family deer hunt, which we had never done before, and we're going to make that a tradition, to having my baby out to scouting. But like feeling that connection to not just the Lord, but also the wilderness and nature, all at the same time, is really important to me. And so I can't beat it. Can't beat that right there. That just tells me that I'm doing what I love to do, and I'm doing the right things in life and all that stuff. So, um, and I don't get to, like a lot of us outdoorsmen and women, we often trade our Sundays in church for being out in the field. And so when I get that grace from God, essentially, like that, just it makes it all the more special for me. So
I know that exact feeling. Like, whether it's from the sun rising, the sun setting, the mountains. I mean, some of the most special kind of moments that I feel like I've had with the Lord have been out on a hillside where I'm just by myself glassing, and then I'll just take a step back from it all and just take in the view and just get that overwhelming sense like, man, I know that all of this has been here for tens of thousands, millions of years, whatever. But I'm just like, I just feel like somehow he created all of this that I'm seeing, like for me on this moment. Like, and it's just like,
in that moment,
it's
yep,
special. Like, and you're the only one that
yeah,
gets to have that moment. And it's like,
yeah.
God, you're doing this for me. That's pretty special. Okay. Talk to me about some of the wildlife things that you're involved in and what the conservation side means to you.
Unfortunately, I just don't end up with a whole lot of time outside of hunting, family, fire, work, to give back to the organizations that I wish that I could. I'm a member of Foundation for Wildlife Management, which is basically an organization that helps manage wolf populations within the state of Idaho and Montana, and I think we're expanding to Wyoming, I believe.
Keep pushing south,
I
bro. Keep pushing south. Bring it to
Yeah, yeah,
Colorado.
yeah, yeah.
Let's just manage them
Um,
right away.
uh, I got to tell you, I'm very envious of Brandon's time with the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. I donate to Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. I donate to Pheasants Forever. And those are kind of my three that I donate to. Um, but I've still dreaming of that situation where I get enough time to be involved with them on an actual, not even just going to the banquets. I want to be able to actually put time in the field with them and
Hands on with the
actually.
conservation work. Just to be fair,
Exactly.
I mean, I do think that there's certain things and there's seasons of life. Like Wally was trying to look for some of those projects with his son Reed, to go out and physically do some of the fence removal, weed removal,
Right.
the projects that they do on the ground. But I also recognize, man, the firefighting work and volunteer work that you're doing, we only have this much bandwidth
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
life, and it can't all be hunting. Like as important as hunting and wildlife is, like I'm very okay with that not being the sole purpose of everybody's life where everybody in your family has to bend around that. So I appreciate that you still spend time with your wife and that she still chooses you as her husband. That's important to me.
No, yeah. But I still have dreams of getting our entire family involved in that. Like you're saying, like as of right now, I'm just running out of bandwidth where I'm at with the fire department, all the training that I have to go through just being a new member. But in the near future, Sophia, my child, Shauna, like we're going to be at that stage in our life where we can actually give back to conservation, give back to like the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and actually put time in the field. I'm a carpenter. I love. I'm a firefighter. I love doing hands-on things, and so there's nothing that's going to feel to me personally as fulfilling as going to be when that day or that month or whenever that time comes that I get to actually put time in the field.
Yeah, hands on
So
the earth, feet on the ground, all those things, and
yeah,
you're looking forward to that. And I know that that day is coming. Sending a check, participating the way that you
yeah,
have, those are important things for all those organizations. I mean, that's the lifeblood of those organizations. I know it's an important value for you, and you don't kind of get to the finalist role if there's just nothing in that arena.
yeah.
So well done there. Talk to me real quick about a predator hunt you got coming up. So one of the Outdoorsmen of the Year from 2022 is Ray Behrens. He is he's this is his fifth year putting together a little bit of a derby that he does
Yep,
actually in your home state of Idaho. He lives in Washington, but he does this derby kind of right there on that border, Idaho
yep.
Washington border. I'm kind of excited because you won the Apex Predator. It was you versus Ray in that, and now here you are going to participate in his derby, which is super cool.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so tell me a little bit about what you're getting ready to do this upcoming weekend. I know that has nothing to do with your 2024 season, but it has something to do with the Outdoorsman of the Year, with Ray being a previous Outdoorsman of the Year winner. So what do you got coming up?
Yeah, so Ray is putting on a big coyote derby or a pasture poodle derby, as he I think likes to call it. I'm hopefully gonna have hopefully 4 people, definitely 3 people tagging along with me that I reached out to friends and family, and they were interested. I have a few more buddies that I like to hunt coyotes with that are unfortunately not available, but we're gonna be going down south of where I live, about an hour. And as far as I know, we can hunt kind of any public private land that we can get our hands on. And, uh, check-ins on Friday. And then the Derby ends on Sunday afternoon, where everybody brings in their coyotes that they harvested. And I believe there's purse prizes for most dogs, largest dog, and there's got to be something else that I'm forgetting. I think that there's 3.
Should be a really fun time. I'm actually really jealous that I'm not able to join you. And the scope that you're using was a scope that you won in the Apex
Yep.
Predator League last year. You could be running the rifle that you won in that, but that's a bolt gun. And on a coyote
Yep.
tournament derby, you're taking a gas gun.
Yeah, that the Arkin, everybody that takes a peek at that thing is pretty impressed by it. I'm pretty excited to hunt with it at night. I've yet to harvest a coyote, but I have a feeling this weekend's going to be the time. We're also going to be running, my buddies have got some pretty cool thermals. So,
I freaking love that scope. It's just illegal to use in Colorado on any public
oh,
land. So
I
I have
gotcha.
to go do a pig hunt in Oklahoma or go do something outside or get some private access for some coyotes. But it's really, really a cool scope.
It
Um,
is. Yeah.
well, anything else from the season that you want to take a moment to share?
Oh, just stepping out of your boundaries and not being afraid to, in the moment, beg your wife to let you go down a new hunting adventure of getting a muzzleloader or a bow or a crossbow, or a spear gun. I don't know, but get your honeydews done, gentlemen.
Yeah, get your honeydews done so you don't have any more of these excuses.
Yeah, I know. The muzzleloader, that's a very unique thing that I've never explored in Washington State. It's you don't get to hunt multiple weapon systems with your tag unless you draw a multi-season tag. But in Idaho, at least in the areas that I hunt, we can hunt archery, rifle, muzzleloader. It's just different time frames throughout the season, and so um, that muzzleloader opened up a new season to me that I had never taken advantage of, taken that opportunity and even tried. And it is a challenge, especially with the musket caps and loose powder and open sights that we have to use here. But it's a lot of fun. It's pretty
Yeah.
neat.
At some point, I'll be a part of the cool club.
Yeah, man. I even missed the first deer that I was able to shoot at. I took a standing shot at about 58 yards, and it had a delayed. The cap didn't go off immediately. Like
Yeah,
for
almost like a
whatever
hang
reason,
fire.
it was exactly like a hang fire. And I ever so slightly after I took that shot, I started to go down. I was able to walk up to where the deer was at when I took the shot. There was a down stump, like an old stump below his belly. And when it finally went off, I watched that stump just blow up in front of him and he took off. I was able to actually dig that bullet out of that stump.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I don't know, stay dedicated to a new system and get after it because it was only another couple days later that I was able to harvest a really awesome buck.
Yeah, you did. You harvested a great buck this past year, and that was your first one with a muzzleloader. That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, and I also another cool thing, I got to put use to that Tacticam game cam that Tacticam sent me. It's a cell cam, and so I was actually able to go home and get a notification on my phone and say, or look at it and be like, "Oh my gosh, that's a really nice buck moving into the area that I was just hunting. I need to call work."
I am suddenly sick.
No, that's the cool thing about my work. You tell them, "Hey, uh, there's like a pretty neat hunting opportunity that I could probably capitalize on. Do you mind if I take tomorrow off?" And it's go for it. So
I love it.
I'm pretty spoiled there.
Well, Josh, congratulations on yet another phenomenal year. Absolutely love having you as one of our finalists. I mean, you stand out inside the community. I think one of the things that we want is, we want it to represent a well-rounded, individual in the way that they approach hunting. It's not just who kills the biggest, who kills the most. It's all the elements that we really want to take a look at. There's
Right.
brands that are involved with us, whether it's Sequence Precision and Vortex and Huxworks, and the people that have believed in the HuntLeague community and what we're building. They're also looking at the Outdoorsman of the Year to be somebody that would be a true representative or ambassador of the sport to the world around you. And you do that so well. You've got a lot of people that are constantly kind of pinging you and asking you questions, asking for some help, guidance, getting into it. So I really do genuinely appreciate everything you're doing for other hunters, for conservation, and the example that you're setting inside the community. Thank you for being a part of Hunt League. Thanks for taking time out of your evening.
Yeah. Thank you, Jared, and thank you to the Hunt League community. Those check boxes, I mean, they serve as such a great reminder to just stay active and stay with it with conservation, stay with it with hunting, stay with it with education. That's the best thing about the Hunt League community to me is being able to see other hunters and conservationists that are just putting forth so much effort. It's so inspiring to me, and I really appreciate you giving us this resource. So thank you.